The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order. The Reels of Justice is now in session. Judge Big Ben Haslar presiding. All rise for the Honorable Judge Haslar. Be seated. Welcome to the Reels of Justice. Today we're hearing the case of The People versus Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, a 1982 horror movie about a doctor that uncovers a mask-making tycoon's sinister plot, which is to be carried out on Halloween. For those of you unfamiliar with our court proceedings, we are here to determine this film is guilty of being a bad movie. As always in this courtroom, films are being considered excellent until proven awful, and the burden of proof lies upon the prosecution to prove beyond the shadow of reasonable doubt that this film is guilty. Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, you are appearing on behalf of the prosecution. Please present your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are again. Once more, the revisionists, the barbarians, seeking to tear down what we have built and replace it with nothing but smoldering ruins. Yes, once again, we brave few at Reels of Justice must stand athwart and yell stop again and again and again. Of course, we have seen the ruinous consequences of this revisionism. Buying into the trend of the moment, and for what? To say Die Hard is a Christmas movie? No, my friends. It is our sacred duty to tell the truth, and the truth is Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is not an overlooked gem. It is not actually the best Halloween movie, and no amount of cultural contrarianism and glad-handing will change that. Taken on its own, this movie has a very unengaged plot, a slate of characters that we do not care for, and a formulaic depressive ending that is far too redolent of endings of 70s horrors and thrillers. You see, Halloween 3 was rightly regulated to the dustbin of history. But in our modern craze for content, our modern craze for new takes, it has been pulled from the garbage heap, and we are told to admire it while holding our noses and stifling vomit. Well, I say no, sir. Back to the trash you go, Halloween 3. It is where you belong. Thank you.
A lot of big words.
Thank you, Mr. Schlender. Unfortunately, it's just included in our box sets as well. Appearing on the defense is Mrs. Deanna Rooney. Please present your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. And back to the trash you must go, Mr. Schlender, with blasphemy. Good people of the court, gentlemen, please, and ladies, if present and listening. I'm not about to recite clearly, beautifully written, but horribly corrosive statements. I can talk from the cuff with utmost certainty because I know you good people are here for the truth. That is why we are here, is that not? The only crime I see here. What was that?
Absolutely.
That's the judge. Be careful.
I'm sorry, Judge. Oh. As you can see, this is a court case close to my heart, so apologies ahead of time if I seem a bit heated at any moment. I can only say at this moment that the only crime present in this room is the crime that this is even being put up as a film for debate. This is a film that was ahead of its time. We all celebrate movies such as... or actually even TV shows now, such as American Horror Story, True Detective, Fargo, multiple different avenues of storytelling that realize let's not outstay our welcome. No, instead, we have faith in our audiences to take in variety and trust our taste and be able to curate things as, dare I say, an anthology should, and give people, things to look forward to. things to grow with, things to laugh at, make friends with. All the things that I can say with absolute certainty Halloween 3 does in spades. Halloween 2 suffered horribly by the people at the hands of Halloween 2. Why? Because anthologies are I'm losing. May I step back? I'm getting
Absolutely.
so overwhelmed with emotion right now, Your Honor. I just may
It's a subject near and dear to all of our hearts. We completely understand.
may I come to the bench, please? I'm so sorry, Your Honor. Listen, it's just that this is a very fine film, and I don't understand what Mr. Schlender is getting paid to do here. I think it's wrong. I don't know why.
I don't.
The people money is going into this right now. That's okay. I'm a professional.
I actually think he was self-funded on this one.
I'm doing it for free, baby.
He fell into a little bit of money and funded his own prosecution case.
My own passion
You're
project.
a monster. Is everyone here a monster? Should I just leave?
Not Ryan.
But if it makes you feel any better, you can be as mean to him as you want to be.
Oh, please do.
And I will sustain it all. Thank you, Mrs. Rooney. Mr. Schlender, you may present your first exhibit.
Thank you, Your Honor. I can feel the hostility in the air, and it, in many ways, gives me strength and soothes my soul. You see, at its core, Halloween 3 is a slow, and I mean very slow motion, quasi mystery. I say this because we get the details laid out in a very neat and orderly fashion. There are no terribly big twists or reveals. We constantly know more than our protagonist, the Doctor, and we certainly suspect more than him the whole time. And thankfully, to that end, the bad guy, Cochrane, is very interested in keeping our doctor friend, Dr. Chalice, alive to explain, let me double check my notes. Yes, everything. He explains everything to the Doctor, right? Keeping in mind, now, the story kicks off with them killing an old toy shop owner for seeing too much. Brutally, mind you. They crash his skull in. And surely that old man could have brought it all down in a way that a well-connected doctor couldn't. This just doesn't make sense. You can call it tying up loose ends, like the killing of the hobo, but why are they just, killing him now? Presumably he's been wandering around the town, ranting and rambling, and caught on the numerous CCTVs. So it keeps going back to why not kill the Doctor. And let us also not forget, they kill Ellie and replace her with a robot for, let me check my notes, reasons, apparently. She is secured to a table. The Doctor saves her. The Doctor kills the lab techs and Cochrane himself, all of which Ellie could have stopped, but didn't for, again, let me just double check my notes here. Yes, reasons again. So what this fundamental failure is why keep the Doctor alive? There is no good explanation for that. And this is in a movie where everything is just said and explained to you. So that's my first point, Your Honor.
If I may,
Mrs. Rooney?
Mr.
Yes,
Schlender
absolutely.
Mr. Slender's clearly has no soul to soothe, as he put. So
Sure,
I find it questionable at best as to why this is being presented.
But do you have any rebuttal as to the plot holes, or do the plot holes even matter in this movie?
As far as I'm concerned, the baddie, as he put it, is clearly enjoying a good Halloween haha, as you would appreciate if you appreciated the work of Nigel Neal, known for Quatermass, who brought us a lot of really great folk horror, which is responsible for, say, all the things that you may like for X-Files or Doctor Who. There's a level of whimsy and evil, but fun. And if there's a failure of imagination on Mr. Schlender's part, that's no fault of the movies.
Oh, I would say it's a
Very well.
failure of imagination on the movie's part, because why is he giving away all the secrets to this one guy and killing everyone else? If this is, he says he has no choice.
Have you never seen a Bond film, Mr. Schlender?
Hey, I know, right? But let's face it, that's what is so. This is what we're doing. We're comparing Halloween 3: Season of the Witch to a Bond movie. Like the drunk Tom Atkins is the James Bond of this. No, thank you. I'll get off there. My God. But my point is about this killing and the plot. The plot is to say the evil plot, not the plot of the movie. It seems like there's a lot on the line. Cochran clearly says, we don't control this. The planets are just aligned. It's like, well, if you don't succeed, then you don't get another chance, and you failed. And to the point where you would kill the coroner, who is very tangentially involved. I mean, she's not going to be able to blow the whistle on anything right now. They kill her. But again, they don't kill the doctor. And that kind of buttresses into my next point, which is yes.
You only get 2 more buttresses, Mr. Schlender.
I only need one.
Okay, good.
We are never really meant to feel the stakes in this movie for a number of reasons. The villain being so cartoony, he's kind of hard to take seriously. His dastardly plan involving the theft of a rock that literally weighs a ton. Keep in mind, which I feel very funny for a man who explains everything, this gets hand waved away with, you wouldn't believe how we got it here. You know why we wouldn't believe how you got it here? Because it wouldn't make any goddamn sense. The rock weighs a ton, and either it traversed through Asia to get to California, or you flew over the Atlantic and over the continental United States, or put it on a truck. There's nothing satisfactory for that. So of course they hand wave it away. So, I mean, can we just appreciate that for a second? That's a news story at the beginning. It's like, someone stole a rock from Stonehenge. It's like, what the heck are you talking about? And then, why did they steal the rock? Because they need to use the rock dust. Presumably, it would have been easier just to chip off a big piece of the rock than steal the whole goddamn thing. Because when we see the rock in the lab, on Halloween night, mind you, it's still there in all of its slabby gory. It's there. You can just see it. And they've only used a little bit. They only need a little dust in the computer chips. And imagine our surprise that not a single kid in America found a computer chip on their mask and went to their parents and said, yo, why are there computer chips in my mask? G, I think that's what they said in the 80s. I'd have to look it up. And it's like, yeah, why not? What is this? And the only person who gets killed by one just happens to be in town, in the motel, fiddling with it. She gets blasted in the face. No other kid got blasted. Not everyone out there has children, so I can understand. So let me tell you from a parent's perspective. If you give a kid something that has the potential to be broken, it's gonna break a lot. I bought a prop for my son for Halloween. It was broken on the way home, for crying out loud. Never mind a mask with a computer chip in it. It was just an absolute bizarre plan for a man who already had a legion of androids at his disposal already. I feel this idea of we need to sacrifice children, and we're going to do it in the most convoluted, odd way possible, outside of the sacrifice circle, because he said sacrificing at Stonehenge was important, but I guess it's not if you can do it over television now because it's the future. It's just a jumble mess, and we don't really feel any of it because we only ever see the one kid get killed. He kills his top salesman, some reward that is, I suppose, and it's just like, what is actually going on here, and why do we care? Why does the doctor care? What is, so
Okay.
We're left with a lot more questions than answers.
I'd like to pass that to the defense.
Yeah, sure.
Are these plot devices a little too silly, or is that part of this movie's charm?
Your Honor, I'll be honest. That was so sprawling and not really specific enough for me to jump onto. I could only say to like the thing of not breaking the mask. Only an adult would be lame enough to break a cool ass mask that should clearly be placed on one's head and to run around in, versus just being like, "Why does this?" and poking something. Only an adult would do it. So, more power to the adult who takes that. Which also, might I add, which I will touch on later, it does my heart well to see that a film like this can be a family affair where Marge, the woman who does meet her unfaithful end with that mask, is none other than Tom Atkins's real life wife at the time.
Aw.
Right? Family affair.
Well, he was next door.
She had to watch. She had to watch during all the lovemaking scenes that were filmed.
Oh no!
This
All
And
about
did they,
family.
if
they
you could
said
call
there was
that
like a
love.
misfire though, right? With the chip. Like, did they specify it was a misfire or?
Yes,
it was defective?
No. They said specifically. Well, Cochran says he goes, "That was a misfire," and like, what does that even
Spot
mean?
on.
Yeah, I can do a good Cochran impression. I've watched the movie several times, but I'm not doing that now because that would just be too silly. And this movie's silly enough. So I just want to also one other thing I want to talk about. There's two things I want to talk about. One about the plot, and then we'll move on to the director here. So very end of the movie, he's at the same gas station that was at the beginning of the movie. We've come full circle, like a Silver Shamrock logo. Who the hell is he talking to on the phone at the end? How does he get this number so quickly? There are 10 minutes, a generous 10 minutes, depending on how far he had to run away from the car after his love bot attacked him. So... And this is not an idle nitpick, mind you. Again, this gets to the heart of the stakes. Are we to believe that he is stopping this already dubious idea of a national broadcast on all major carriers? Or is he just stopping a local affiliate? That would be interesting if we knew who he was talking to and what the mechanism of stopping this broadcast looked like. Was he talking to the director of the FCC? Was he talking to the president of the United States? Because we all know when government officials get phone calls of people screaming random things, they do what those people say. They don't just hang up. They don't transfer them to the FBI or nothing. No, 10 minutes. And he literally says, "No, I can't prove it. You've got to believe me." I mean, if we tried to emulate this today, you'd end up on the terrorist watch list or something. So it's just the ending completely deflates anything that we might have felt. And that's not even getting into the whole issue with the time zones. I mean, are we to believe that kids in New York are staying up till midnight wearing masks? The kids are watching the first Halloween, which is rated R. So parents are letting their kids watch a rated R movie way past bedtime.
It was on TV though.
It was on TV, but I'm just like, again,
In Your Honor, Mr. Schlender is
Yes.
clearly bringing in personal issues to a very open, I thought, conversation about this film. And if I may, as far as the calling of an unknown entity on the phone, I believe it was meant to show the desperation and futility of the act. It doesn't matter who he reaches, it's all going to end the same way, as our civilization is clearly doomed from commercialization of things that were once sacred, which I believe is one of the running themes of this film.
Oh, no, respectfully disagree. He obviously reached someone who was able to actuate change on at least two of the major carriers. So he got presumably someone who has access to NBC, ABC, or CBS to do it. That's what I want to know. It's like, I just want, like, is he talking to some local affiliate that has access to all this? It would have been nice to know, because he only had
The Yellow Pages existed at that time. Yeah, maybe just calling the news station.
he had 10 minutes to make this happen. They gave us the clock in the movie. If they didn't give us the clock, we could play with the time of it. We could say, well, if he had a couple hours, to get in touch with the right people, but they don't. We see the time.
I'm sorry, Mr. Schlender. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I'm a little unclear on what you consider to be too much information and not enough, because it seems like you keep going back and forth, and it's only to your needs and whims versus what actually serves the film.
This would serve the film, because again, who's he talking to? Like, I don't understand how we're supposed to feel any stakes, the sense of danger, if he's talking to someone who has access that could just shut off all the broadcasts?
Well,
Are they shutting off all the
We'll let
broadcasts?
the jury answer that question. Did you have one last
I
exhibit, Mr.
do
Slender?
have one last thing, and it kind of gets to the cultural legacy of this movie and what we really need to correct. I listened to an interview with Tommy Lee Wallace. He was the director of this very unfortunate movie. You might also know him. He directed the made-for-TV movie version of It. He does not have a lot of directing credits. It's easy to see why. And it was so sad listening to this grown man talk about how, oh, the movie was misnamed. The movie had poor advertising. I was just following orders. You know, it really is. It really is a shame. And now people are coming up to him at conventions and trying to tell him, like, no, this is actually the best Halloween. He says that in the interview about how people tell him that this is the best Halloween. Come on, people. We know it's not. We know it's not even a good Halloween. We know it's a bad movie. And I feel very comfortable resting there, Your Honor.
The question is, do we know if it's better than Halloween Kills? Miss Deanna Rooney, you may present your first exhibit.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor. Give me a moment as I'm exhausted from hearing nothing but
I've been there,
doldrum.
sister.
Let me see here.
That's just what I call Tuesday.
My condolences, Your Honor. On record, I would like to just say my colleague here would have you believe that this is the worst film possibly to have ever existed. It has wronged his sensibilities beyond comprehension, clearly to myself, because this is a fun, whimsical family film. We have a lovely joint effort by Deborah Hill and John Carpenter to reclaim a franchise in the way that they were hoping that the world was ready for. Previous to this, we had either the succession of multiple franchises where it's just the same slasher over and over again, no imagination, or otherwise anthology series that featured a bunch of 5 to 7, maybe 20-minute shorts that we'll just say that if they concluded in a satisfactory way, they were the exception, not the rule. They were looking to do something that was sadly ahead of their time. And in doing so, they were bringing with their friends to help with the affair. Our beautiful director, Tommy Lee Wallace. For those who don't know, this is actually his first directing credit. Previously, he had worked as editor for the first Halloween as well as The Fog. It's so much of a family outlet that even Jamie Lee Curtis does some voice acting on this film as well. So if it's good enough for Jamie Lee, I feel like it should be good enough for Mr. Schlender as well as the rest of the court. One point I would like to bring up is the fact that this film, as I was touching on earlier, is a really beautiful commentary on commercialization of an otherwise fun, spooky sort of holiday. We have a nice little meeting in the middle of Nigel Neal, or Neely, depending on who you ask, who writes more somber, quiet, thoughtful, philosophical films. Who was frankly like embraced in such a way that even at the time, Joe Dante, who was previously slated to direct this, was on board. But knowing their audience and hoping to bring them to the place that they would like to be, they went ahead and made adjustments, made it a little more gory, so that hopefully people could be on board with their vision of what they can do with the horror genre, which quickly devolved, as we all saw, to be a very profoundly long period of slasher films. And because people weren't ready, we are all to blame for Halloween H2O.
Mr. Slender, do you have a rebuttal to the idea that they had to get away from Michael Myers and try a different Halloween anthology sort of thing?
I think it's laudable because it's a risk, right? We often talk about risks in filmmaking, but you know what else is a risk is trying to pass someone when it's a no passing lane and you get into a head-on collision. And unfortunately, that's what we witnessed here. Tommy Lee Wallace was just way too out of his depth. And they didn't have enough good ideas to string together a whole movie. This movie doesn't suffer because it doesn't have Michael Myers. Call it something completely different. Divorce it from the Halloween franchise any which way you feel. On its own, it just doesn't stand up as a good movie. As a matter of fact, it sits down as a bad movie. And the public was...
That's good.
Thank you.
Don't encourage him.
I'm trying to get him to wrap it up.
That was a juryman.
That's the light right there.
I'm saying the public was ready for different things in horror. 1982 also had Poltergeist, which made a ton of money. And just Halloween 3 was not it. It was not what the people were looking for. And the only reason we're talking about it now is because everyone hated it back then. So now people can pretend they like it now.
All right, well, we'll let the jury decide if it was at the wrong place at the right time or vice versa. Miss Rooney, did you have any further exhibits?
First, I would like to say to that, the only misgiving there would be the fact that, unfortunately, it was kept under the umbrella and moniker of Halloween. Had it been named something else, much like the way that people would have been more forgiving of the film Prometheus, had it not been considered part of the alien oeuvre, then I feel like it would have met with a much better reception.
Who doesn't like Prometheus?
I noticed a lot of silence for that.
I don't like Prometheus, but that's a personal opinion.
I'm sure it's going to end up
further exhibits?
at the court one day.
I'll defend Prometheus.
Did you have further exhibits, Mrs. Rooney?
Yes, I would like to present members of the court. I believe we have all agreed at one point or another that the film The Stuff was also a great film that also touched on similar themes, rather. This film is responsible for the most impressive earworm of a jingle that has infused our holiday known as Halloween with the most joy anyone could possibly conceive, which would be the Silver Shamrock. May I play? See, it's already known.
But you have to sing the rest of it.
I believe it's Happy Halloween. Here it is.
8 more days till Halloween, Halloween, Halloween.
Oh my goodness. Apologies, Your Honor. The internet is much like we were talking about gross commercialization. I'm being, my eyes are adulterated by an ad that is keeping me from playing this exhibit. Here we are.
Oh, I'm not sure if we can.
Oh, I don't think we can legally play it. No, we can sing it.
That's probably enough right there.
It's just London bridges falling down. We can play it.
That's kind of true. Oh, you just ruined that for me, Mr. Rodriguez. Thank you.
Oh.
No, it is. I think it's funny that you have John Carpenter writing tons of original music, and he was probably spoken to Doobie going, "Hey, man, I could write the jingle." And they're like, "Oh, no, we got to use something in the public domain. Sorry, bro."
Which credit is, for better or worse, awarded to Tommy Lee Wallace for the jingle. The one, I apologize, Your Honor. I write like a 7-year-old who is actively sleeping while writing notes in class. I am trying to track down the notes that I had.
Very specific.
Clearly is not speaking the truth of any of my upbringing.
It's a lot of doodles of dinosaurs.
Yeah.
They're all crying. I don't know why.
Oh, no!
I just draw pictures of
Is that too much information? I'm so sorry, Your Honor. Hold on one moment. I apologize.
Yes, take your time. We can edit this out.
Okay, please edit this out. Apologies. Please hold.
We can. I don't know if Maynard will.
Depends on how funny we are during it. If we're very funny, I'll keep it.
Ooh, no.
That's why the episodes are so heavily edited.
Just try to be very unentertaining.
This is a courtroom, not a podcast, sir. You got to protect the illusion.
You know, we actually don't have a stenographer character. That might be interesting. Maybe we should have a raffle for someone to be the stenographer.
I thought Ryan was writing everything we say down every episode.
Oh, I am. Type.
See?
Oh, listen to that. That's some good shorthand right there.
Clackety.
Which also, Ryan, as an aside, if I could hire you as an assistant writer, please, thank you. Please dictate these unintelligible thoughts. All right, here it is. This is where I realize Mr. Schlender and myself are clearly, we will never see eye to eye on this because he is
tall.
a father. He is tall.
Mm.
Both things which I am not.
Mhm.
This film really revels in the opportunity to show what it's like to not only channel a little fun cheekiness that we lost from the 70s in folk horror, but find a way of making it modern and finding a way of torturing potentially millions upon millions of children. As someone who has no children, I find that rather delightful and commendable. The promise of the ticking clock, that if our poor dear doctor cannot figure out how to reason with this man who clearly, based on the amount of explaining, as our judge clearly understood, as noted from, yes, I do wish that he was able to play a drunk James Bond. Thank you. You have an equal. It's the Dark Knight. It's like the Joker and Batman. He's excited. He's met his match, his equal, his shadow self. And through that, he's able to say, you know what? I put a lot of effort into this, but you know what? I did it all for the lulz, man. It's gonna be amazing. Yeah, it was hard to get Stonehenge here, but you know what? I'm not gonna bore you with the details because you're a cool man, and we all know that transpo of rocks is fucking boring. So I'm gonna get to the good stuff. We're gonna turn these kids into mush and bugs. I'm gonna show you because obviously you're not getting how cool this is. I'm gonna let you catch up with me. You're gonna be down too. If not, oh well, I'll find someone else. And you know what? This only happens once every however many centuries, so grins to you either way. I love any opportunity to see kids turn into bugs. I think bugs are cool. Kids can be kind of gross. Why not make a better situation of something that maybe isn't so great?
Yes, sometimes I don't see the difference myself.
Oh boy.
But honestly, it's like, in all sincerity, it is an interesting conversation, which it does touch on in a goofy but accessible way, which what is entertainment but that, where it's like, you know, Halloween did have such a storied past in the way that we interacted with this idea of, you know, what do we do with our dead? How do we interact with people of our past, ideas that scare us, this idea of the thinning veil and dealing with things that we don't have control over. And then suddenly, like, you know, in the 50s, 60s, you have these consumerist groups are like, you know what, I think that this shouldn't be scary because we can't sell stuff. And then they change everything, which great. Thankfully, like some of the stuff is still aesthetically pleasing, but you know, if the change in Halloween was as great as they thought it would be, we wouldn't have to lean so heavily on horror films to still teach us the stories that we're trying to figure out to this day. So I think it was very commendable and entertaining how they handled something that could be a heavy subject and made it, well, frankly, fun, especially for people who aren't worried about the smaller, younger generations of our kin, also known as wee bibbies who run around in masks.
And would you like to rest on that point?
Sure, why not?
If you have another one, we can go. Yeah.
You know, I feel like Halloween 3, I'm not going to say it's the best Halloween. I feel like that's where people get reactionary. I feel like that's where people get angry. Because honestly, it's a big statement. It's misleading. It's kind of dumb, honestly. But also, you know what? I love dumb, fun movies. I will weep the day that our culture decides that those films shouldn't exist. I get more from them than, frankly, so many people try to be an Ari Aster and fail. And, you know, I like the films that don't take themselves too seriously, but still like touch on really cool themes, but have like a real dorky fun time with. And I don't think a lot of filmmakers would continue without these films. Like you need these to get you excited about like the idea of, you know, like getting together with your pals where it's like, yeah, we had success with The Fog and Halloween, but you know what? I'm bored as shit making this stuff. Let's do something new. And we got the green light for this money, which is really hard to get in the industry. As long as we say it's Halloween, we can make this. I mean, I'm hard pressed to not defend that.
My only objection would be, and I'll make it now formally, objection is this movie's not fun though. This fun and whimsy you're talking about, that's not in this movie. This movie takes itself seemingly very seriously, and it's trying to cultivate a sense of dread. I mean, I don't think there are any cues in here that one could take away saying, "Oh yeah, no, that's a fun little wink and a nod" or anything. I think the movie is remarkably straightforward. So that's all I would say, Your Honor.
I'm going to overrule that, but I will let the jury decide whether or not that they think it's fun.
We overrule it too.
And would you like to rest there, Ms. Rooney, or is there a further point?
I'm good.
You can rope a dope 'em. Very well. All sides have rested their cases. The attorneys will now present their closing arguments. Mr. Schlender, you may begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. After World War II, there were a series of trials. You may have heard of them, the Nuremberg trials. America's chief prosecutor of the Nazi scum was a valiant man named Robert H. Jackson. And he served not only our nation, but I would say the world quite well. But what a lot of people don't know is there's a postscript to this, and that postscript's name is John J. McCloy. McCloy, in his role as U.S. High Commissioner for Germany, began to commute the sentences of every Nazi that was not on death row. Oh, yes, every single one got a commuted sentence. A tainted legacy of high justice, but we see the worst of the worst from World War II allowed to walk free, allowed to regain ill-gotten property. Whatever his reasons,
be going somewhere with this, counselor.
I am. Whatever his reasons were, the fact is, McCloy's otherwise laudable record of public service will always be a footnote, and history will always regard him as the man that cut the Nazis a break. So, when you step into that jury room, you can either be a Jackson or a McCloy. Halloween 3 was guilty in 82. It was correctly judged in 82. Time has not softened it. Time has not blunted its crimes. It still is before us guilty. So let us have proper justice and judgment tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schlender. Jury, please heed his words, as I'm sure you were listening.
That McCloy guy
Rooney,
retired really rich, though.
Order in my court. Mrs. Rooney, you may present your closing argument.
Thank you, Your Honor. We use the words like honor, code, loyalty. We use these words as the backbone of a life spent defending something. You use them as a punchline, sir. I have neither the time nor the inclination to explain myself to a man who rises and sleeps under a blanket of the very freedom that this film clearly provides, and then questions the manner in which it provides it. I would rather that you just say thank you to the film and went on your way. Otherwise, I suggest that you just pick up, a weapon and just stand at post. Either way, I don't give a damn what you think or what you're entitled to, sir. You can't handle the truth that this film is great.
Can't handle the truth.
Thank you all. Members of the jury, Mr. Maynard Bangs, Mr. Big Ben Haslar, and Mr. 8 More Days Till Halloween, 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 8 More Days Till Ryan Luis Rodriguez. You have all heard the facts concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine this film is guilty of being a bad movie. The bailiff will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict. It's actually 334 days till Halloween, Halloween, Halloween.
I wanted him to make that joke, and he couldn't do the math.
No, I said from when we're recording or when it's airing, and you said, and here we are.
I did say that. And of course, from when it's airing, which is right now, we record everything live. Ryan.
All right, gentlemen. Rob, what are you thinking?
I saw this movie for the first time like 2.5 hours ago. It just wrapped up before we started recording. It's a really weird movie. I always used to see it in the video store, and I would because I love the Halloweens, and I would always pick it up and read in the back and be like, no Michael Myers, and I would always just put it back, and I'd never rent it. I do think it suffers from a bad marketing. I understand they wanted to do the anthology story, but it's not just that Michael's missing. This thing has like a total tonal shift.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it would have worked if they did it as Halloween 2?
Maybe, but I still think that like the first Halloween is just so dreadfully serious. Like it's not fun at all. And I disagree with the Prosecutor. This movie is fun. It's very lighthearted and whimsical. And that's the tonal shift I'm talking about. It's not that it's a bad thing. It's just that it would clash severely in a Halloween marathon.
Like
does
stylistically. It's also, it seems like a kid's movie to me. Like the plot seems very juvenile to me, yet it's R-rated. Like that's a very weird juxtaposition in my head.
I'm not sure what it got R-rated for, except for maybe that girl's, like the couple of shots they had to do of putting her in a towel and
I think like the gory heads and the bugs coming out.
I think it's the tits.
I mean, maybe that's PG-13. I don't know.
But we needed the tits. They told a great story. Ryan, what were you saying?
No, I was just saying that this is a strange kind of left field choice to go after Halloween 1 and 2, but Halloween 2 ends. Like it's the definitive end of that story, so I don't know where else they could have really gone if they're not going to resurrect the Michael Myers character, but I honestly think that if this was just called Season of the Witch, the public appraisal would not have been far kinder. It would have been maybe slightly more so, but not terribly. Would it be beloved? No, it's too weird. But it has a cult, and it has a cult for, I think, the right reasons.
Well, I like the a lot of the production pieces, like especially the pumpkin mask is well designed. The other two leave a lot to be desired, but the pumpkin mask is well done.
Oh, it looks great.
And the shamrock, like silver shamrock logo is strong. The jingle's a real earworm for sure. And I think them choosing the public domain song was intentional because I think it makes it catchier because you know that song. You've whistled it hundreds of times.
How did I not know that song? That's
I don't know what's wrong with you, Ben. No one knows what's wrong with you.
I did not catch that.
So I think all those things are strong, but yet like the villain he's just kind of not really defined. Like he's an evil tycoon, but like I don't know. Apparently in the original script that Neil or Neely wrote, he was supposed to be like a demon, and that would have made a lot more sense than just being like a evil old man for some reason. I just don't know like why he really wants to. His motivation didn't come through to me. Like you're already super rich and you have an army of androids, like, and you can clearly make beautiful, sexy androids at a real fast turnaround. So like, what more do you need?
No
Ben,
reference.
what more do you need?
Nothing. He's good.
I plead the fifth on that.
Wasn't rhetorical.
Yeah, no, this film isn't for me. But I'm not gonna put my ruling on my personal feelings on it. But I don't get the appeal of this film. The only reason people know about it is because of its weird placement in the Halloween franchise. That's the only reason people pay attention to it at all.
Yeah,
but
come on.
that said,
Stonehenge,
it does,
creepy costume, robots in suits. It's a potpourri of nonsense.
It does have,
why wouldn't anybody love this movie?
Potpourri of nonsense.
It does have good Halloween atmosphere, which I do like. Like you're saying, the masks. It is a Halloween story, which I appreciate because a lot of people tend to, just watch horror. Like, kind of, that's what the first Halloween is. It's just horror. Oh no, it's essential for it to take place on Halloween. So having a franchise that does that, or a film that does that, I can appreciate for that. I don't know who it's marketed for. That's still a question. But the fact that people do like it, I don't think that they're kids. I think pulls it past not guilty for me, even though I personally dislike it. So I'm going to lock in as not guilty.
Oh, he's locked in. So, I want to say some good things about this. I like Tom Atkins' main protagonist, genuinely.
That's because Tom Atkins is awesome.
Right. I don't know. I agree with I don't know why he lives so long, but protagonists have plot armor. It's just like a thing that happens in a lot of movies. So I don't know why they just don't kill him sooner, but I think the judge said earlier, why don't they kill James Bond all the times they could kill him? But I like that he's just, besides being a doctor, he's like a miserable drunk. He's just looking for drinks throughout the movie. He's going to take a road trip, so he brings a 6-pack. all
He's
of
a
that
trash
makes him
person.
very relatable and likable. He runs into a hobo on the street who asks him for a sip, and he cracks his bottle right open, because drunks recognize drunks and they help each other out. So he's a very likable character, but almost everybody else is kind of weird and flat, and at least the fact that half of them are robots is okay. But like, yeah, the final 10 minutes is really like kind of the weird part as far as plot holes go. Is like, why would they keep all of those gems in a box in their control room? Like, if they know they can trigger and explode magic laser beams at the sound of that commercial, why would they keep a box of them just a few feet away from where they're going to clearly play the commercial? Like, that's one weird thing. And like, yeah, if she was a robot and had been replaced before he rescued her, why doesn't she stop him from killing everybody, including her creator? That's a weird thing. They only have so many minutes to actually get to a phone and try to reverse this plot, and there's just like no way. There really is. I don't care who's on the other side of that phone. There is no way they're going to get them to stop the broadcast at that, because that's not how broadcasts work, really. Like, you would have to get to the censor board and convince them, but they're never going to believe this drunk doctor calling them and screaming. They're just not going to believe him. So
And
I think
time zones too.
Yeah, there is time zones. But I mean, just because it was 9:00 PST, maybe they told them it was 12:00 EST. But again, no kids are staying up that late. Not on Halloween night. No, they're full of candy and they're sugar crashing like by 8:30 tops. But those things beside, I think I would have liked an even bleaker ending where he can't get a hold of anyone. He's calling, but he just can't get a hold of anyone, and it comes on anyway. So like, none of the channels should have been taken off. All three should have broadcast. I'm not sure why they decided to have only one do it, but that's a nitpicky thing. But the robot thing at the ending and the gems, that stuff does kind of bother me. So I'm a little on the fence. I've got to lock in. I know we already have a not guilty, so I'm going to probably toss this one over to Ryan. I think I'm going to go guilty. I think I couldn't see myself watching this one again.
Okay, well, I could see myself watching this again because I know for a fact that I will because I fucking own it. I
that
cannot.
box set?
Yeah, no, not in the box set. I own the 4K that Shout Factory just put out. It looks amazing. I deeply adore this movie. I cannot defend literally anything in it. I cannot look at it and go, well, that's objectively a good movie. I honestly don't know that it is, but it's something that every single time I go back to it, I find something that I enjoy more. I'm not saying that it kind of deepens my appreciation, but it's something that if I can look at a movie more than once and actually come to different conclusions in watching it, then I think that has some kind of value for me. So I'm gonna go
Ryan. If you lock in not guilty, Dylan's gonna quit the show.
Oh well, bye,
not
Dylan.
Guilty.
It was nice knowing you. Locking in, not guilty.
Oh no, we're gonna need a new guy. Well, I guess we should get out there and tell that very handsome judge.
Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. In the case of The People vs. Halloween 3, we find the defendant not guilty of being a bad movie.
We need a new podcast team member.
The verdict is so rendered. Halloween 3 is free to go, but for the love of God, man, take it easy on that jingle going forward. Court is adjourned.
334 days to Halloween. This is John Carpenter. I'm a public figure, so people can just do impressions of me if they like. Deanna
Is
Rooney,
that what this is?
I believe so. I've never heard my own voice in interviews, so I can only assume that this is what I sound like. I'm John Carpenter because I said it when it started. Anyway, so this is John Carpenter. I write my own music. Deanna Rooney, what did you think of the jury's verdict?
I'll be honest. I assumed it would be a guilty. I don't know how to feel about the verdict being a not guilty. I feel a wave of relief, but also,
Guilt.
To each his own. And a few of us clearly enjoy a James Joyce type experience where we let movies wash over us. I think the court and everyone for their time.
All right, thank you. And before I talk to Mr. Schlender here, I'd like to just do a brief little solo here.
Oh,
Everyone
no.
is just inclined to listen to some noodling on my keyboard, which I brought with me. Mr. Schlender, how did you think of the jury's verdict? Don't hit me.
I knew it was you, John Carpenter, because I could recognize your hair and mustache.
Yes. And I said my name.
Honestly, I'm not surprised that that's the way the court went. It's just the direction we've been going. Don't worry, I'm not quitting the show over this one. That case is coming up, though, and god damn it, you're going to know it when you hear it. And I would just like to thank Deanna Rooney for showing up, and she did a great job, and it was a fun case. We had a good back and forth, and she was right. I actually do have no soul, because Ryan took a picture of me, and I really need to get it back, so thank you.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to send it back to the studio for post-trial analysis, and I'm going to go out with a little more keyboard noodling.
Oh, well, that one's better. I like that.
Yeah, it's actually the same. It's the same noodling.
Yeah, I assumed it would be.
I was just leaning on the keyboard with my elbow. Like
Whoa!
Wasn't anything too special.
When was your first time with this movie? Were you young when you saw it, or?
No, it was 2.5 hours ago. Just don't you? No, I know it's talking to me. Deanna.
Honestly, it wasn't until like when I was in my 20s, because like everyone else, it's like you pick it up, you're like, oh, there's no Michael Myers in this. Why the hell would I watch this? But someone's just like, they were like, please just forget it's part of the franchise and just watch it. I promise you'll like it. And yeah, I was smitten. It's just like so silly and dumb, and like it fits like it's just the kind of horror movies I love watching, and Tom Atkins is incredible, and thanks to this podcast, I now really want to see a drunken Tom Atkins play like old James Bond, like in a Bubba Hotep sort of setup.
In one of those parallel universes out there, it's happening.
Please.
That would be great. So what have you been up to lately? What's been keeping you busy?
This and that. We've been churning things out at a neck break pace over at the Gizmoplex. I don't know if anyone listening is a member or is a fan of the newer Mystery Science Theater 3000. I've been told that this Turkey Day there's going to be some of the newer episodes, so if you're unsure about perusing those newer ones because of the lovely paywall for the newest ones, you get to watch a bunch for free for Turkey Day, so that's pretty sick.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's cool. Where's that going to be at?
Yeah, it's got to be YouTube then, right?
I believe so. It was in the past, right? I'll be honest.
Ryan knows. Ryan.
I think it was on Twitch TV like the last time.
Shout Factory TV has them. I don't know if it's this time, but they used to.
Oh, okay. So I had heard, because I know what Mary Jo and Rebecca, I think, were going to host Turkey Day, or at least they were in all the advertising for it. But I never actually read anything about it, because I've seen them all, so I don't usually tend to watch them on Thanksgiving. But if you get to watch some of the new ones,
if anyone hasn't seen the new ones yet, yeah, this newest season for me is a kind of a return to form, from the feel of the original run. So I'm really enjoying this Gizmoplex season.
Yeah, I like the changing of the hosts and switching. I think it everyone has a different sort of tone, and I think friendship quality, right? Like you can tell like how close knit each group is, and I think that's important with riffing. And of course, we love Emily. We've had Emily on several times, so
she's the best.
Big Emily fans, yeah. So yeah, it's a definitely a cool season, and if you can't pay the price tag for the season membership and you just want to check a random one out on Gizmoplex, I think they're $5 a view. So I think you could rent them for $5 if you just want to see one.
Yeah, or email us at reelsofjustice@gmail.com and Maynard will give you his login.
No, I will not. And you're lucky that's not actually our address. As
Oh,
usual, you've mucked it all up, you muckety muck.
oh no. I will say, as far as this most recent, this being a quasi Halloween episode, I will say, in all sincerity, for people that were like, say, like maybe fans of the Mike years, I'd say the episode of The Mask is probably some of my favorite riffing. It's such a solid episode from the season. I can't recommend it highly enough. Also, that movie is so batshit. It's so ridiculous.
And it's in 3D.
And it's in 3D.
I didn't watch The Mask because I didn't get my 3D glasses. I didn't follow through, so it was like, and I was like, well, one day
Ivan will take care of that for you.
I'll just get them from Amazon or something, and then I'll sit down and watch it. But I did watch The Bubble, that the most recent one they did, and that was a really interesting viewing. That was a really interesting trip of a film that decided not to have an ending or a middle even. So
are you guys still in production? Like, you still like writing for newer episodes currently, or is that like a big block of time that you have to set aside?
Well, like, it's been like smaller little bits here and there for the Gizmoplex, but we're waiting to hear what Joel wants to do as far as like a next season. So we're all just kind of on the ready right now, which honestly, like, all of us are looking forward to it, but also at the same time, it's like I feel like we talked about this last time, but the writing process is as painful as presented by the riffers on the show. It's a slog. You're crying in a room by yourself, and you're like, why does no one understand what I'm going through?
Please pitch them the peanut butter solution. I think if they could afford the rights,
so weird.
If they could afford the rights to that's a great movie to riff, because it takes itself seriously enough, and it's just totally batshit.
I found out from Matt McGinnis, apparently they did reach out, and apparently they were like, they clutched their pearls at the suggestion of it being riffed.
Wow.
It's another final sacrifice. People who
That's excellent.
who take their bad movie far too seriously. Why can't they
learn
learn something?
The kids, man.
They got to learn something from David Giancola. Just let people have your bad movies. Just let them rip it apart. So we always ask for recommendations for movies that you think people should see. So, Deanna, what is a movie that you think people should see?
Let's see. Of the movies I saw most recently, as far as those listening who do like kind of the follow the indie horror genre scene, A Wounded Fawn and Christmas Bloody Christmas were two movies I got to see at Beyond Fest this year that were super great, super fun, super ridiculous in their own very specific ways. Kids versus Aliens was amazing, like hands down.
Who
amazing.
wins?
Spoilers,
Everyone
I don't
wins
wanna
and
know.
loses, and it I can't. I don't want to ruin anything, but it just like underline that recommendation whenever it comes out, wherever it comes out. It's so fun, and it really captures like the fun of like kind of like growing up in the 80s and like being a latchkey kid and everything going to shit, like as far as like the way that horror films used to be, where it's like, you know, like the glory of like films like The Gate, where you're like, oh my gosh, like parents are idiots or they're gone, so we have to figure this out ourselves. And it's I love it. It's so good. And then for people who just like good thoughtful films, I really loved Banshees of Inisherin. Like I finally got around to seeing it, and it's a very quiet film. And as you sit with it, about an hour later, you're just like, oh God, that character is really fucking sad. And like, you just like, it just rolls on you where you're just like, it just like reverberates where you're just like, you'll be eating a sandwich and you're like, oh no, why do I want to cry? And it's just, yeah, it's fun. It's weird. You get to see, you know, Colin Farrell with a bunch of animals, which is always great. And it's a really great, you know, reunion from your favorite killer duo from In Bruges.
I know someone very handsome just recommended it last week. So,
So
Ben?
double recommended.
What was it, Ben? Ben's the handsome one.
I recommended In Bruges, so
Double
That's way
feature.
Double feature. That's true. And Aliens versus Kids sounds good. But I mean, the aliens, like, they just killed all the predators. So I don't know what the kids are gonna do.
Home Alone style, man. They got this.
They have acid blood. Schlenzo, you were the prosecutor. So what is your recommendation?
Well, thank you, Maynard. I was thinking about like a scary kind of movie that maybe, the horror, maybe it needs to be, reanalyzed, in the modern sphere. And to that end, I am recommending, but I'm not going to watch 1987's Canadian masterpiece, Blue Monkey. And that's because this movie is about a strange bug monster that is terrorizing a hospital, and a plucky group of kids and a grizzled detective have to stop it. Now, I will say I have not seen this movie since I was a wee little child, and as I said earlier, I don't plan on watching it again. So, if someone out there has watched it recently and does like it, drop me a line. I would be interested to hear your thoughts on it, because I couldn't bear to watch it again and not have it measure up to my precious, precious memories.
Please email him at dylanjschlender@gmail.com.
Oh, no, that's his real address.
It's remarkably close. So
you also have a Gizmoplex login, or do you use Maynard's?
No, well, if you email me, I'll give you Maynard's Hulu.
That's fine. I hope you like ads. Ryan, you were not the judge this time. This time was Ben. Ben, you were the judge, so tell Ryan he could give us recommendation. Ben, what's your recommendation?
Well, I'll go first. Since it's nearing the holidays and we're still talking about Halloween, I thought I'd
it's all year round.
Recommend a fun little Christmas horror called Treevenge. I love holiday traditions, but do you ever stop and think how weird some of these are? We drag ourselves out into the woods and commit tree murder just to hang this poor carcass up in our homes, tightly bound in some lights like a hunting trophy. Well, Treevenge tells that story of these poor trees, but from their point of view. As one year, they finally had enough and fight back in a fierce display of comedy and gore. And unlike it's a summer film, you have no excuse not to see this, as for one, it's free on YouTube, and two, it's only 16 minutes long. So someone please think of the trees.
So is it going to have a poster, or is Mayor going to have to get a screenshot for this?
There's a poster out there.
Okay.
Well, if the poster doesn't say they're barking up the wrong tree, then I'm out. Ryan, what is your decommendation, or you have a recommendation?
I have a recommendation. I don't even know what a decommendation is.
It's like a Christmas recommendation.
My non-decommendation this week is similar to Halloween 3, a standalone sequel, or at least I think it is, because I watched it without seeing the first 3 installments and I enjoyed it anyway. And that is Universal Soldier: Day of Reckoning. Direct-to-video flicks have never been this brutal and brooding, injected with a thick dread and an almost Lynchian psychological underpinning. It's one of the most exciting and genuinely surprising action films of the 2010s. And keep in mind, this is the decade of Fury Road, Baby Driver, and 3 Mission Impossible movies. Not bad company. Universal Soldier: Day of Reckoning is currently streaming on HBO Max and Crackle, which is apparently still a thing, but you should pick up the Blu-ray instead.
I love that candy bar.
That sounds like something I'd recommend. Did you get hit in the head, Ryan?
Yeah, no, this is a genuinely good movie. I was honestly surprised that it was as good as it was.
It's like a direct-to-video.
I might actually watch that. I never watch anything.
Video is not a death sentence. It is amazing.
You are right. You are right. There's so many good direct-to-video action movies floating around out there. Most of them are on Prime.
Can we redeem the direct-to-sci-fi soon? Then?
Oh God, I hope so.
I hope so.
Love those. Such hackers.
That's right. So I'll send us on home. There's many third entries to horror franchises, but not many of them are worth much. But this past Halloween, I actually went through several of them. And one of my favorites was 1992's Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. Hellraiser 3 seems like it was written by someone with barely any familiarity with the Hellraiser franchise, besides maybe having seen some publicity stills or something, or only had the plot laid out to them in vague bullet points. But it may be the Hellraiser film that most meets the expectation of someone unfamiliar with the franchise. Pinhead is front and center in this one, escaped from hell and hell-bent on racking up as high a body count as possible for his own pleasure. We also get to learn a little about his origin story as a human being, plus there's some fun new Cenobites introduced. But basically, this film will hopefully scratch that early 90s horror VHS itch that you may still have lingering from October. Hellraiser 3 Hell on Earth is currently streaming on Hulu and Amazon, but only with a Cinemax subscription. How annoying.
Support your local library.
Yes, if it's on Canopy, you should watch it there.
So
Of course, I don't know why it would be.
Is the best third horror movie Dream Warriors? Can we all agree? Is that it?
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean that it's
Best third. I'd have to think on that.
Day of the Dead,
Oh, I love
Day of the Dead. No, you're right.
Oh.
because that was one I
Yeah.
watched because I was exactly trying to solve this question, and so I kind of landed on Day of the Dead, but I didn't watch Dream Warriors.
Dream Warriors is great, but I would say Day of the Dead is better. Not
Mhm,
by like a whole lot, but by enough.
I don't know. You just found Halloween 3 not guilty, so your judgment's in question. And you recommended Universal Soldier. I don't know what happened to Ryan, ladies and gentlemen. He's an
He's
android.
finding
We're
himself
going to
up
work
to
out the
replace you.
bugs.
there it is.
We thought you were going to quit, so he needed to work on his Dylan impression.
That's true.
That does track.
We it's like when the Stooges lost Curly, and Mo had to become Curly and Shemp becomes Mo. Ryan's gonna have to become Dylan, and we're gonna need new Ryan. So we're recruiting new Ryans. So I hope someone out there will step up.
But Deanna, if you're free,
There you go. But with that, we are all out of show. But we want to thank our guest Deanna Rooney for joining us. Thank you, Deanna.
Thanks again for having me and my horrible, horrible mouth.
No, you did well, and you only
this is
approached the bench once, which we appreciate. You got it out of your system early because it makes Ben very uncomfortable. And we hope everyone else will join us again as
Don't
well
stand so close to me.
as the reels of justice keep turning.
Count it.
Decamend.
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.